right, guys, we've got a very cool interview from isolation. It's my first one that I'm really doing since we've all gone into self-isolation. And this one came together in a very interesting way. Joining us is Goody Grace, who is he's a rock star. What else can I say? He's a rock star that is performing all over the world and has hit singles out there and has been playing with lots of really cool bands and has great stories to tell. But he's also a big nerd. And he's been playing video games for a long time, and he's from Canada, and he knows EP and Reviews on the Run, and he's been following my stuff on Instagram, and we connected, and we said, well, why don't we just have a conversation? So welcome, Goody. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm honored to be the first interviewee. I didn't know that.
Because I'm still figuring out how to do something out of my home. Like we were shooting out of the Vancouver Film School Cafe, had this cool public kind of space, and I was bringing interviews into the location, and we had all of our gear there, and then the pandemic happened, and it's like, okay, I guess we've got to figure out something new, and here we are.
I know. Well, at least we're making do.
we are all making do, and we're all doing this together, right? It's the cool thing that I recognize about this is that everybody's in the same damn boat.
I know, worldwide.
Yeah. How are your folks? Your folks are in Manitoba?
Yeah, man. I grew up with my mom and my grandma, and actually my uncle Mark, who me and him were both very big fans of everything Electric Playground and everything you've ever done. So I have to shout him out one time. But they're doing well, man. I've been on FaceTime and everything, just trying to keep in touch as much. But they're all tucked away. I grew up in a town called Selkirk in Manitoba, just north of Winnipeg. So everyone's just in that general area, I guess, just staying safe. Yeah.
It's also surreal, right? Like, I'm sure you're having these conversations. You said you were having lots of Skype interviews and Zoom interviews every day. And it's so hard to like think of this as reality, but it's the same reality for all of us.
I know. Yeah, it's really crazy, but we'll get through it.
Do you take this information in as a songwriter and as a performer and think, okay, well, how do I reinterpret this for the music that you're going to create?
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, I've always been like, I produce most of my music and write most of it just alone, kind of just with my guitar and my laptop. So nothing's really changed, like creative process wise, because I'm always just kind of tucked away, alone in like a dark room writing. So I think it's been really inspiring to me because I finally have some time to, be inside and watch movies I've wanted to and read books and listen to music I've been kind of wanting to, and just to kind of dive into everything that I've been interested in but haven't really got around to. So I think that's been really helping me, staying inspired and just staying sane through it is, kind of treating it like, free time to just dive into things that I've always wanted to.
That's very cool. What got you into making music in the first place?
I played guitar since I was like 4 or 5 years old. I grew up on like my mom and my grandma were big fans like Elvis and Johnny Cash and stuff like that. And I was a huge fan of Blink-182, who I later in life worked with on one of my last singles. And so I just was always really into guitar and also really into like technology. So just like kind of studying even before I had like a laptop, how people produced and whatnot. And then my mom got me a MacBook when I was 10 years old for Christmas, and I started first producing in GarageBand, and then got better programs, and just have really been doing it for about 12 years now daily. So yeah, it's really fun. I mean, making beats and producing music is kind of like a video game. It's all just, I like to, it's really fun for me. So
that's so cool. And you're a veteran, an old veteran in your early 20s. And what's so impressive for me is like this new generation of creators out there, and this is in video form and everything. Like the technology is just so accessible.
I know.
I imagine you're meeting a lot of other like-minded individuals out there who can create on their own.
Yeah.
And are you finding ways to collaborate and like, do you have mad respect for other performer producer types out there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I like anyone that makes art, but I just always really click with people that I know kind of take a lot of matters into their own hands. And like I said, even if I do collaborate, with somebody. I have, some good songwriter friends or producer friends who send me ideas and whatnot, but everything always ends up in my laptop and with me working, for hours and hours on all the details of no matter what it is. So I kind of just respect anyone that, greatly that really dives in their own way. 'Cause it's fun and it's a lot. And it's just a great time to try out new sounds. I'm such a fan of so many different types of genres and whatnot. So it's just great to explore all those, no real song of mine that's out kind of sounds the same. So I kind of have fun in exploring stuff like that.
Tell me about the latest the single that you just dropped. It's My Party.
It's called If I Want To.
If I Want To.
It's My Party, yeah. That's the second song off. I haven't even put out an album yet. So everything I'm doing right now is gearing up for my debut album. Big plane going overhead.
Yeah. Where are they going? Where are planes going right now? What are they? Who's in a plane?
I know. I always think that. I see planes all day, and I'm like, where? Yeah. but this was the second single off my upcoming album, which, regardless of if we're still in lockdown or whatever, I still want to put out my debut album in the fall because, as I said, I'm really hands-on with everything, and I've kind of created the whole project as like a really cohesive experience that is somewhat a concept album. And, I've just kind of approached it like a movie or something. There's like a storyline. It's really cohesive musically and lyrically. And I think that, I'm really excited to tie it all together. So Scumbag featuring Blink-182 came out on Halloween. That was the first single off of it.
Congrats on that, man.
And I want to thank you. My first song to ever go to radio and everything. And my first time performing on television, we played Jimmy Kimmel. Luckily, like 2 weeks before quarantine happened in the nick of time.
I heard that. That was so cool.
Thank you, man. It was so sweet. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. That was my TV debut. And so If I Want To just came out on the 23rd of April. And that's the second single off it. I made it with a couple friends of mine, but it's a bit more of a chill, just kind of song that I hope kind of can help people get their mind off things in quarantine.
There's a melancholy kind of quality to it, right? Like there is this. It sounds like a quarantine kind of anthem in a way. It's like I'm just leave me alone. I'm going away. Was that going through your mind when you were putting that together, or was it just coincidence?
It's kind of a coincidence because I actually made that song in I think January is when I started it, and it went through a lot of different courses. And on the base level, it just kind of seems almost like a party song, being like "Leave Me Alone," but it's really much more like everything I do, kind of like existential, and there's deeper meanings to it. So I think that it was just perfect timing with everything that's going on in the world, and felt super fitting. So it wasn't meant to be the next single, but I was like, we got to put this one out, and it's really just the beginning. I'm going to be putting out, a song a month, I'd say, until my album comes in fall. And regardless if I can tour it or not, or if we're still locked away, I still want to put out a real project for people to dive into, because I've always just released singles here and there. I have an EP out, but I'm such a big album guy and project guy, and I really like sitting in and getting into, a full body of work. So I'm excited to provide that for people to have.
That seems to be the way that people are releasing music these days. It's not really like you release the whole album and then you wait to see what gets radio play before you release your single. You release the singles and you put your whole album together based on you just pushing that out there.
Right. And that's where it's like, I've been putting out singles for so long and trying different things, but at the end of the day, I love concept albums. I love full bodies of work. So I've always intended for my debut album to really be that, and to work with a lot of artists that I love and I've always looked up to, and just make it everything that I dreamt that a debut album could be, because you only really get one shot at the first one. So
that's awesome. Do you have a favorite debut album or a favorite record that you always turn to for inspiration?
I don't know about a favorite debut album, but I mean, there's been a lot of artists. I really love the Smiths and Bob Dylan and Tom Waits, and that's kind of what I've really grown up on, but also dove even more into as an adult and as approaching finding inspiration for creativity. And I'd say that Tom Waits is a really big help of mine just in making stuff cinematic. Yeah, legend. And I really want even if someone doesn't like a certain type of genre of music or might not like this or like that, I really think on my album there'll be something for everybody. So I really look up to artists like that really practice versatility, like Tom Waits, to, you know, and I'm a big fan of dark stuff. I'm a big fan of the Misfits and all things kind of spooky, and as much, you know, as much as like folk music like Bob Dylan and whatnot. So I think I'm just really blending everything together to create something I've never heard before.
What's it like for a Manitoba kid to be, you've been in LA now for 7 years. What's it like to be a part of
Yeah.
the scene and, you know, hanging out in Los Angeles for you?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's been a long time, and yeah, I came out here when I was like 16, and was just like sleeping on my manager's floors and staying with friends and hopping on any tour I could get on and releasing songs here and there until I eventually got signed. I had my first ever show at the Roxy in Los Angeles, and
Wow.
yeah, and Rick Rubin actually attended it,
Holy
and
crap.
I signed a publishing deal with him like the next day in the afternoon, which really helped me get my feet on the ground. I got my first apartment and everything, but that was in 2017, and I came out here, you know, probably 2014ish. So those years were really rough, but I was just always having so much fun and trying to break through. So it feels really good to be at like a steady point now where I can just, you know, really just focus on art and not have to focus on how I'm gonna eat next, which is a nice luxury because I can just buckle down.
That
But I'm
is a
still,
big deal, brother. That is a big
yeah,
deal, man. Like, you know, I think we live in a world where everybody's a broadcaster. I say this all the time. As somebody that was,
hmm,
you know, came from TV and how hard it was to have a TV show out there.
right,
Now everybody's got a show. But,
hmm,
you know, when you cross over from putting stuff into the world to it paying for your way so that you can actually eat,
yeah,
that's success right there. That's the
yeah.
success point, right?
Yeah, and that's what makes me happy, man. Just seeing the music continue to grow through just little step by step. You know, Scumbag with Blink 182, and just working with them in general. And the drummer Travis Barker is a big mentor of mine and a great friend, and they brought me out to perform with them multiple times, and
Wow.
that's been a huge help. And I'm just really thankful for, you know, I feel really lucky and blessed of good things just keep happening. So, like I said, man, I'm 22 and I grew up in small town Manitoba, so I'm just really happy and excited with everything that happens.
You got to tell us a story of how 182 became, you know, your
Absolutely,
buds.
man. So I was at like, I had met Travis Barker backstage at a mutual friend show once, and I'm the biggest Blink fan. Like I was so obsessed growing up. I've seen them multiple times and know everything about them, and we exchanged information and didn't really talk for like a year. We followed each other, and that was amazing. And I was always kind of reaching out, but you know, just trying to work and at least hang out. And I was at like a really low point just creatively at the end of 2018 and kind of figuring out which steps to take. I'd signed to Atlantic Records, major label, earlier that year, and was just trying to figure everything out. And I got a DM on Twitter from Travis it was a Wednesday, and he was like, "Are you in LA?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, we gotta hang." Like I was just so excited. And he's like, "Yeah, absolutely." But he's like, "Could you come to Vegas Friday?" He's like, "Blink has been doing a residency at one of the casinos at the Palms," and he was like, "We have 2 final shows, so will you come open for them?" So I went and was the supporting
Wow.
act.
That was out of the blue?
Yeah, out of the blue, I rented a van.
Holy shit, dude. That's awesome.
I took like my best friends and drove out to Vegas as fast as I could, and they gave us beautiful hotel rooms and everything. And I played back-to-back shows. The second night, they brought me out in their set to sing one of my favorite songs with them, and that was just like I became such good friends with them, and they were just kind of like, you know, let us know if we ever need anything. So Travis has been a huge help with everything in my album, and then eventually I became good friends with Mark, who's the singer and bass player, and that eventually led to me having, I believe, the first ever song to say featuring Blink 182.
That is amazing, man. Congrats on
Yeah,
that.
thank
Well, I
you.
got to ask if you're a big believer in UFOs.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
you know, everything that Tom DeLonge unfortunately isn't in the band anymore, and I've never got to work with him, or
Yeah.
actually never met him. But everything he
Okay.
does with the UFO development and everything is super inspiring, and I
What
think that's really cool.
It is cool, right? It's like this whole other side passion here. Well, you see Blink 182 in the news right now, and it's always
I
associated
know.
with UFOs,
I know. Yeah.
which
Even the
is
stuff that
crazy.
came out the other day, I think Tom DeLonge had part in.
What do the other band members of Blink 182 think of Tom's pursuit of aliens and UFOs?
It's funny. I've never personally spoke with them about it, but I've seen interviews of Travis, and he's done podcasts and whatnot. And I just think that Tom has always been really into it, and I think they all just support it. I mean, he's been consistent, so I don't.
Yeah,
It's by no means a little hobby. I think
yeah.
he's very invested in it, and I think it's cool.
It is cool. So you've met and played with Blink 182. You're in Los Angeles, and I've seen you wearing different Smith shirts. So you wear your heart on your sleeve with that one, my friend.
I love.
Have you met Morrissey, or
I have.
like does you have? Holy crap!
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
I must say I love the Smiths. I love everything Morrissey's done musically. I don't love a lot of the stuff he said. He's kind of turned into not the best role model or public person right now, but I still love the music he did in the 80s. And I actually met him and sat with him at a Rancid show, coincidentally.
Wow.
And didn't really talk much, but it was really great and meant a lot. So it was a big moment for me. He definitely will not remember it, but I'll remember it forever.
Of course, yeah. There's that it sucks when your heroes become the villains kind of thing. That for me, but
it's so tough to be like, I've loved this my whole life and looked up to you, and then but it doesn't change the music he made from 83 to 87 that I still listen to all the time. So
that's true. Yeah, you can't always judge the artist, but you can always enjoy the art, kind of thing.
Right.
Are there other people that you've looked up to? I mean, the thing that I find when I go to Los Angeles is I always run into somebody that I admire their work, and it happens by accident, or I get some weird interview opportunity, but it's consistent. There's so much creativity coming out of there. Obviously, I'm curious if you've met people that it has just blown you away.
Yeah, I mean, the coolest thing for me is probably now with social media that I'm just so thankful for, because it's been such a great help from the beginning. But even now, I guess that I somewhat have more of a voice that could be heard. I'm just so not hesitant to reach out and I'm such a big fan of everything that I'm into. So I'm very outspoken with it, which has, developed great relationships with a lot of people. I'm a big fan of, I talk almost daily with the singer of the Lumineers, who are a huge influence of mine.
They're great.
Yeah, they're so amazing. And it's almost like Blink 182 or any of these bands. I mean, I spoke about them in interviews and just was so open enough that they ended up reaching out. We're like, hey, we heard what you said in the interview. Thanks a lot. And, and then develop a great friendship, because I think when I'm a fan of something, as much as I respect the art, I also, even as a kid, have been wow, I'd probably be really good friends with them if I got to know them, because it's even something like this. I mean, when you messaged me last week, I'd messaged you in 2017 or 2018.
I'm so sorry. I didn't see the thing. And then I'm like, oh my God, and I apologize.
Catwing messaged me, and you were like, I'm sorry that I didn't see it. But what's funny, you wouldn't remember, is even a couple of years ago when Fallout 76, all this stuff was coming up, I was in the chats talking and stuff. And you had mentioned that some jokes I was saying and whatnot, because I'm a huge Fallout fan and everything Bethesda, but I got Paul Boy tattooed on my arm.
Right on. That's great.
Right out of the 182. But yeah, so I mean, even things like that. I mean, as much as there's cool moments, this is one of those cool moments too. So I'm really appreciative.
I hear you, man. The social media has this way of it does break down a lot of stuff, right? I got to become friends with Billy Campbell, who's the Rocketeer, because I reached out to him on Twitter when he was shooting The Killing in Vancouver. And it's a surreal thing.
Yeah.
But it's, what it underlines is that we're all just people, and we're all just trying to make our way, and we just want to create stuff. And I agree. It's always incredible when people respond to it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's my favorite thing. It's so easy to be connected now. And like I said, I'm a big fan of things, so it's great to find out that people that I really look up to are interested in my music as well.
Awesome. Do you want to make music for video games?
I would love to, yeah.
Yeah.
I really would love to. I want to. I mean, that's always been a big dream of mine. I think it'd be so cool to have music in games. So hopefully that can happen.
Is there, I mean, you love Fallout, you got the tattoo. Is that where, if you had a dream come true, another dream come true, is that where some of your music would play in a game like Fallout?
Yeah, I mean, I've always like, I would do a cover of like a 50 song or something. I think would be pretty cool.
Right on.
I think that, you know, if I've covered the ink spots or something for a next Fallout game.
You know what? You're such a go guy. I think you should just do it, and then
Yeah,
let's share it, man.
God.
That'd be so rad, right? I mean, look at what Nathan Fillion did with Uncharted, right? He just went off and shot, and that was amazing. Do you have, if Fallout is one of your faves, but do you have other games that you are a freak for that you just you love so much?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have a few like franchises. I'm a big BioShock fan. I'm really excited to see what happens with that. I was excited to hear that the Destroy All Humans remake's coming. I saw that you said it. You know, it was not too amazing, but I grew up with that a lot.
Yep.
I'm excited for Cyberpunk. But as for like, you know, things I grew up on, I was really into BioShock, really into Fallout. I mean, I failed school because of Fallout 3. Like, I was obsessed with
it. Easy to get consumed by all this stuff. I mean, look, I made a career out of talking about this.
Thousands of hours in the wasteland. But, yeah, I mean, those are probably the two big ones, aside from just everything else that I would, you know, I just grew up playing everything, really.
What is it about games? What's that?
Mostly single player. I've never been too into like Call of Duty or multiplayer type games. They're fun to like hop into, but I like a good, you know, storyline.
Yeah, I think it's incredibly important that the games industry never loses sight of that. I think we need to always feel like we are the stars of our own interactive film like that. And single player, I'm right with you. So damn important. But what is it about video games for someone that's clearly, you know, thinking of creating things all the time? What is it about video games that keeps you coming back?
I think just in the same way as like a good book or something, it's a really good escape, especially if it's a great storyline. Trying to think of other games that have really like affected me, but yeah, you know, I mean, even BioShock, I just love when there's such a lore that you can dive into and know everything about it and backstory and, you know, really original creative things that couldn't really be expressed in other ways. I think it's just it's such a way to expand a world and a universe, and to you know, I was a huge fan of The Last of Us. Actually, I texted you about how I've been staying spoiler free, but I love the first one.
Isn't that heartbreaking? That news about Last of Us 2? Oh, it's so brutal.
I know, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
But I just think it's a great escape, man. Play forever.
Yeah. Play forever. That's right. Yeah. And, you know, and that's true with music as well, right?
Yep.
And you're meeting the people that have played forever, which is so rad.
Absolutely.
What do your friends and your family in Manitoba have to say about the this burgeoning life and career of Goody Grace?
They're just so excited, man. I try to keep them all as much of a part of it as I can. And, you know, I'm really tight-knit with all my friends, and they're just so excited. They love when I come home and get to share stories with them. And sometimes my friends come out to LA, and anytime I go on tour, they'll come to like the closest city if I'm not playing in Winnipeg. And I think they're just so excited, man. This is all I've ever wanted to do. So they're really happy for me.
That's awesome, dude. Fantastic to meet you, Goody.
Absolutely. I'm getting all gloved up. Be sure to practice all the safe protocols that need to happen.
Any other time, that would be an incredibly weird way to end this, but
you know, my package came to the door. Shout out Amazon with the gate next to it. So.
We get it now. Next time we do this, though, it will be in person. Okay, my friend?
Absolutely, man. I can't wait to come to Vancouver, and I'm excited to watch this, and I'm excited to keep watching EPN every day. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Fal. Thank you.
Good
Talk
day.
to you soon. Bye-bye.
Yes, take care.